If you love trees, Christmas, and ornaments, I have the perfect crochet project for you. Happy Christmas in July, guys! This is ornament number 2, the farmhouse tree. If you like my rustic tree ornament, then you'll love this farmhouse tree because it's even quicker to crochet and just as cute. We're going to chat yarn and hooks really quick. For this pattern, I used a worsted weight yarn. If you like more of a stitch definition, I would suggest using something like a cotton. I used We Are Knitters. I know Lion Brand has a pretty cotton. And if you like more of that soft look, that fluffy look, I use something like this. This is our Wool of Andes tweed. This is one of my favorites. So you can use anything you have, acrylic, cotton, blend, anything. For hooks, for this pattern specifically, I used an E hook, but you can use an F, a G, you can use a D. Depending on what hook size you use, you know it'll be a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger. But for the E hook size, this ornament was about 2.5 inches tall. For a quick side note before we get started, we have the top layer, which is the small, the middle layer, which is the medium, and the bottom layer, which is the large. I'm going to crochet the large layer, but I'm going to let you know when to stop for the small, fast forward to the border, and then the same for the medium. And then we can add them all together or just drop them. And then we will add our ornament hanger on at the end. Okay, you can grab your hook, your yarn. We are going to get started with round 1. We are going to make 6 single crochet into a magic circle. Feel free to make your magic circle any way that you'd like. You can also make a slip knot, chain 2, and place 6 single crochet in that second chain from the hook. That's another option as well. I also have a lot of videos if you need help with a magic circle. At the end of round 1, we're going to close up our magic circle, but you don't want to make the middle really tight, depending on which hanger you're using. So if you're using like a twine that's a lot thinner, you don't need to leave your magic circle super big. But if you're using something like this faux leather, you may want to leave your magic circle open just a little bit more to make it easier to weave in those pieces. I'm going to grab a stitch marker and place it on the last stitch of the round. If you like to place it on the first, feel free to do that. For round 2, we are going to place an increase in the first stitch, which is 2 single crochet, and we're going to single crochet in each of the next 2. I'm going to place my hook in the first stitch and make 2 single crochet into the same stitch. There's 1. Go back to the same stitch. There's 2. Now I'm going to single crochet in each of the next 2. Here's 1. I'm going to move over 2. Now I'm going to make another increase. It's a single crochet increase, so 2 single crochet into the same stitch. And then I'm going to single crochet in each of the next 2. Here's 1 and 2. At the end of round 2, we're going to have 8 stitches. I'm going to change my stitch marker. For round 3, we're going to make an increase, and then we're going to single crochet in each of the next 3. So for my increase, it's just a single crochet increase, 2 single crochet into the same stitch. Now I'm going to single crochet in each of the next 3. Here's 1, 2, and 3. We have a single crochet increase. And then I'm going to single crochet in the last 3. Here's 1, 2, and 3. Because we're only increasing by 2, our work's going to turn in on us, so just remember to keep turning that back out. At the end of round 3, we're going to have 10 stitches. I'm going to change my stitch marker. For round 4, we're going to make a single crochet increase, and then we're going to single crochet in each of the next 4. So a little tip here is whatever number round you're on is the number of single crochet that you're going to do. So you'll see this as we continue on. So we made our increase. We're going to single crochet in each of the next 4. We're going to make another increase. Then we'll single crochet in each of the last 4. Here's our increase. And then we'll single crochet 1, move over 2, 3, and 4. At the end of round 4, we're going to have 12 stitches. I'm going to change my stitch marker. For round 5, we're going to increase in the first stitch, single crochet in each of the next 5. So here is our increase. and then single crochet in each of the next 5. You'll have to let me know if you've made my rustic tree pattern. It is like one of my absolute favorite patterns. I've made so many of them. It's kind of crazy. Okay, we're going to make another increase. And then we'll single crochet in the last 5. This one just goes like a few minutes quicker than the rustic tree, which is always nice to save a few minutes. Okay, we're going to change our stitch marker. At the end of round 5, we have 14 stitches. For round 6, we're going to make an increase, single crochet in each of the next 6. Here's our increase. And then you can single crochet in each of the next 6. And then we have another increase. Single crochet in the last 6. I see a lot of these trees in my future too because I gifted so many rustic trees that I kind of ran out of people. So now they're going to get the new version for the new year. Okay, at the end of round 6, we are going to move on to round 7, change our stitch marker. We have 16 stitches. Round 7, we're going to make an increase and then we're going to single crochet in each of the next 7. Here's our increase, single crochet in the next 7. Also, let me know if you ended up making the wreath from the beginning of the week. I'm so curious to know if you guys made one and how it turned out. We have another increase, single crochet in the last 7. At this point, I've made like 20 wreaths, so I'm really, I think I'm going to add those to Christmas gifts this year. Okay, we're at the end of round 7. We have 18 stitches. If you are making the smallest layer, the top layer, you would stop here. Then you would go on to the timestamp that says border. You would add your border and then continue on with the video. Then you can restart it to round 1 again and then work on your medium-sized layer. If you're working on your medium or your large, we're just going to continue on to the next round. Okay, for round 8, we are going to increase in the first stitch. And now we're going to single crochet in each of the next 8 stitches. So if you do forget your pattern at home, you can always get started by making an increase and then single crochets of the number of the round, if that makes sense to you. I feel like when I say it, I get confused. We're going to make another increase and then we'll single crochet in the last 8 stitches. At the end of round 8, we are going to have 20 stitches. You can change your stitch marker. For round 9, we're going to make an increase, and then we'll single crochet in each of the next 9. So here is our increase, and then we'll single crochet in the next 9. I keep mentioning the rustic tree, and that was my first tree ornament, and I actually made a new video for that. So that will be up on for the 5th ornament. So if you do want to make that, I have that one coming up, and I do have an old video you can watch as well. We're going to make another increase, single crochet in the next 9. At the end of round 9, we have 22 stitches. You can change your stitch marker. If you are making the medium, the middle tree, you can stop here, go to the timestamp, fast forward to the border, and then go on from there. If you are making the large, we're just going to keep chugging along here, and we're going to move on to round 10. So round 10 is an increase in the first stitch, and then we're going to single crochet in each of the next 10. We're going to do another increase and then single crochet in each of the last 10 stitches. At the end of round 10, we're going to have 24 stitches. Change your stitch marker. We have one more round to go for the large. So we have round 11, or I should say one more increase. We have an increase in the first stitch, and then we'll single crochet in each of the next 11. This is our last increase round, and then we're just going to put on our border, get all of our pieces together, and then we will add on our hanger. You can just use yarn if you want. You don't have to use anything special. I do have twine. I'm going to show you one way to put the twine, and then I'm going to show you a different way on how to put that leather, faux leather string, which is kind of cool. It looks really nice. We're going to make another increase, and then you can single crochet in your last 11. I like simple ornaments. I like making ornaments. I don't know. I could do it all year round. I always have a rustic tree in my crochet bag, and it's no lie. I mean, there are always like pieces of them everywhere, so. At the end of round 11, we are going to have 26 stitches. We are done with our large size, so the bottom layer, and we're going to start our border. What we're going to do first is make a chain. We're going to chain one. And then we're going to make a slip stitch in our first stitch. So pull your yarn through, pull it through. Then we're going to chain one again, and then slip stitch in our next stitch. Chain one, slip stitch, chain one again, and slip stitch. So that's all we're doing all the way around. We're chaining and slip stitching. Chain one and slip stitch. Oops. The slip stitches get slippery sometimes. So that's all we're doing all the way around. This is a really simple border, but it leaves this really pretty, almost like a very subtle ruffle, which I think is really pretty. And it kind of gives it like a more of a modern look rather than like super frilly. But if you do like frilly, I do have another version that's coming up in, I think, a week or two, and I'm calling it the ruffle tree. So it has a really ruffly bottom. So if you like really roughly, wait for that one. Continuing to chain one and slip stitching all the way around. Once you get in the momentum, you can do it pretty quickly. But sometimes that slip stitch for some reason, slip stitches slow me down quite a bit. We're finishing up this round with a slip stitch. I'm going to take out my stitch marker. Because we're working in the round, we're just going to finish up just a tiny bit higher than our last round. I'm going to do something called a seamless join. So I'm going to leave a bit of a tail, and you can fasten off if you'd like. I'm just going to do something a little different. I'm going to pull this yarn all the way through, and then I'm going to grab my yarn needle. I'm going to weave that in. I'm going to place my yarn needle underneath the two loops of the stitch next to the one that I finished. I'm going to pull that through. And then I'm going to go right down the middle of the loops of that last slip stitch that I made. I'm just going to pull that in and just kind of make it like a little bit of a faux stitch. Just because we're ending a little bit higher, I want to try to make it look as even as possible. And now you can go ahead and just weave in your yarn. You can also weave in your magic circle pieces. I get a little bit lazy, so sometimes I don't do the small and the medium. but I will do the large only because that is where you'd possibly see the bottom. So I'm just going to flip this out and just weave in that magic circle bit. And you can do that on the small and the medium too. Sometimes if you don't, your hanger will get a little stuck and it'll pull out. So if you don't want to be messing around with that, you can just weave it in. Now that we're all weaved in, I'm just going to put this back the right way. And then I'm going to grab my other pieces. So you have your large bottom. You can grab your medium and your small. I'm just going to place that medium on top. And then you will notice that there's this tiny divot in our last round on our border. And if you wanted to, you can line up all of those little mini divots. You'll see it here. And then we have that small one here. I'm more type A, so I like to line them up and then put that in the back. But if you don't even notice, people who don't crochet are definitely not going to notice. So here we have our tree all ready. Another quick side note here, if you are going to gift these or sell these, especially if you're going to sell these and you put on your hanger and you feel like the layers are just not sticking together, they're kind of falling apart, I would just add a little bit of this Aleene's tacky glue, or any fabric glue is fine, but I really like this one. You can just add your hanger and then add a little bit around the edges and let that dry, and then you're good to go. Moving on to our hanger, this is option 1. I cut a piece. This is probably about 13 to 15 inches long. I tend to make them longer than I probably need, but I like to have that extra security of having enough. I'm going to add that to my yarn needle. I'm going to go and make sure that it's in the middle. And then I'm going to take my needle and just go up through the middle, the magic circle of the large layer. And then I'm going to grab my medium and go up. And then I'm going to go up through that small guy. From here, I'm just going to make a knot at the end, and you could have done this before you added it, just did this a little backward. So I like to make a double knot. And then you can pull that all the way up through your layers. Once you have that, you can cut off that extra piece, and then you would just make a knot at the top. This leaves you with the knot at the top, and some people like this look and some people don't. So this is totally up to you. This is option 1, and this is the easier way to go. Maybe not easier, quicker. Should say quicker. Once you have your knot, you can just cut off the end. And that is it. There you go. And then if you wanted to, you could always add fabric glue at this point and then let it dry. For option 2, I'm going to do it with this faux leather. I cut about 13 to 15 inches. We're going to add both ends into our yarn needle, and then I'm going to pinch that shut. And instead of going up through the bottom, we're actually going to go down through the top. So take your yarn needle, and this is where you'd want to leave your magic circle a little bit bigger if you know you're going to use something thicker. I'm going to pinch that again. And I'm going to go down the magic circle of the medium. Make sure that you get both ends. It gets a little tricky sometimes. I'm going to pull that through. At this point, you don't want that hanger to come out, so you can just grab your hook so that it stays in place. Pinch that end again and then pull it through to the large layer. Sometimes the tops kind of get pushed in, so you just want to make sure that everything is pushed out. So I'm just going to do some maneuvering here. When you feel like everything is in place, I make the knot, and my goal is to make the knot at the edge of the border. That way I know that I'll have enough hanger on top. It was a little bit lower than I wanted, but I'm just going to go ahead and see how tall this looks, because we can always readjust. Okay, yeah, that was a little bit taller than I like, but you know what? It's okay. Next time you can just stick your knot a little bit higher than mine, ending at about the edge of your border. And this red one is how it should look. Okay, at this point, you could add your fabric glue if you wanted and let that dry. If you wanted, you could also add a dab of fabric glue where the knot ends inside the large tree, and that will keep that bottom in place. Here's all our different trees. So I have one in like a blend yarn. like a acrylic yarn, two are in cotton, and then one is in my tweed yarn. So you can see the different looks here. The acrylic one's definitely a little bit bigger, but they all look great. So let me know what you guys decide to make it in and what kind of ornament hanger you're using. And I'll see you guys in a few days for ornament number 3, which is going to be our holiday bell. So see you guys soon.